Deion Sanders to the Las Vegas Raiders isn't going to happen, but Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, they may take a swing at Coach Prime.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We're also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. So thank you guys for making me your first listen of the day, liking, subscribing, being everydayer. If you don't know what that is, you're someone who likes, subscribes, gives me 5 stars, and then you comment, you share this with friends, and you're here every single day with me going over what is probably the craziest storyline in college football and in the NFL, which is Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes. And right now, we already talked about Coach Prime to the Raiders, right? We know it's not going to happen. The Raiders basically came out and said, not happening. We're not interested. However, that being said, Coach Prime has a huge contract offer on the table with no pen put to paper. He also is now being linked to the Dallas Cowboys. So according to Jordan Schultz of Fox Sports, that is, he said, sources, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones has spoken with Colorado head coach Deion Sanders about the team's head coaching vacancy, and discussions are expected to continue regarding the possibility of him becoming the next head coach in Dallas. He said Coach Prime is considered a top candidate. The Cowboys plan to interview other candidates, or though the Cowboys plan to interview other candidates as a part of the process. Then Coach Prime came out and said, no, thank you. I appreciate the offer, blah, 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 kind of one of those things. I'll read the message as well. And it's one of those things where if you're Coach Prime, I feel you have to say this, right? And I don't know if the reports indicate what is being said out loud. And I think all reports indicate to the Dallas Cowboys still sort of going after him. And let's just say Jerry Jones is a relentless fella, and we all know that. So this is what Adam Schefter reported on the situation yesterday. He got a comment from Coach Prime on the situation and said to hear from Jerry Jones, this is Coach Prime talking to Adam Schefter, to hear from Jerry Jones is truly delightful and it's intriguing. I love Jerry and I believe in Jerry. After you hang up and process it and think about it, it's intriguing. But I love Boulder and everything there is about our team, the coaches, our student body, and the community. So he says that. And then Mr. Jordan Schultz, who reported initially, talked about the comments and said, okay, well, Deion Sanders has long publicly dismissed any interest in coaching the NFL, but this was one call he isn't going to ignore. Sanders is listening and talks are expected to continue as Jerry Jones explores the possibility of bringing Coach Prime to the NFL. Now, here's exactly what everyone needs to know. Coach Prime has one requirement to coach in the NFL, and that is Shedeur, Shiloh. They have to be on the team. The Dallas Cowboys currently have the number 12 pick in the NFL draft. They could obviously move up. They also signed Dak Prescott to an extension, 4 years. I think it's $250 million, which starts next year. So 2025 will be the first year of that contract. So there's kind of they committed to Dak already. If Coach Prime, obviously, if he wants to come in, he's not going to come in with a mid-ish first-round pick, not draft his son Shedeur, which Shedeur is going to go in the top 5, top 10 either way. So 12 is too late. So this is where things get complicated for the Cowboys. I'm going to make a case for both, and you guys will see. That way we know everything. Dallas needs to trade up, right? There's a trade out there right now where everyone's like, oh, just trade Dak for the first pick to the Tennessee Titans. They get a quarterback, and the Dallas Cowboys get a few picks, and all is good, right? Wrong. If the Dallas Cowboys trade Dak, they will get hit with $104 million in cap hit. They'll get a cap hit of $104 million. Jerry Jones hates the cap hit. He literally was talking about how much he despises it with Ezekiel Elliott, and that was $6 million. So it would take a lot of money for the Dallas Cowboys to move up. It would take a lot of capital, right? You'd probably have to trade Dak and a pick. And so that would be how you get Shedeur into the picture. Obviously, I think a lot of people in Dallas would be interested in Coach Prime coming. I think he's one of the best athletes we've ever seen. He's one of the biggest personalities football's ever seen. That being said, is being an NFL coach with Jerry Jones looking over your shoulder nonstop, talking about you nonstop, and giving input nonstop. Is that what Deion wants? Is that what Coach Prime wants? Because in Boulder, he kind of does whatever he wants, and I won't say there's no one overlooking him, but no one's gonna be like, "Hey, Coach Prime, we already took in 35 transfers. Are we really going for 50?" Like, no one says that because he's boosting the economy by hundreds of millions. He's boosting applications from students. He's boosting the diversity, and he's just boosting the overall brand and success of the program. So no one's gonna be like, "Hey, Coach Prime, I don't think that's a good idea." So yeah, so there's the case against it, right? It would cost the Cowboys a lot of money. They'd have to move up, and then obviously you're taking a flyer on Shiloh, who's probably not gonna stick on an NFL roster. Now, here's the case for it. If there is anyone in the NFL that is as risky, senile, willing to do something that makes him the biggest story, it's Jerry Jones. Hiring Deion Sanders would be, especially at the Dallas Cowboys. Like if Deion Sanders was hired by the Las Vegas Raiders, I think it'd be a huge story at first, and then I think it would die down a little bit. If Deion Sanders is the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, that storyline will never die down. The Dallas Cowboys are probably the most popular sports team in America, or at least one of them. They're top 5 for sure. And having Deion Sanders as the head coach will only magnify that. So I think Jerry is the guy who's risky enough to do it. I think he wants the attention. I think he wants the recognition. That being said, I think he's probably the one NFL owner who is willing to just put his what on the table and be like, his what's on the table and be like, this is what we're doing because I want to. Obviously, if it doesn't work out, Jerry would take a lot of backlash. But I think Jerry Jones I think he sees what a lot of people are seeing, and that is Deion Sanders coming to Dallas, one of the biggest franchises in sports. And it's just one of those things where what would he have to do to make sure it works for Coach Prime? Does he assemble the staff? Does Coach Prime assemble the staff? Like, I think that would be complicated, but I think if anyone was going to figure out a way to make it work, it'd be Jerry Jones. Another thing, the star players of teams are often very influential, whether it's good or bad. And we saw with the Raiders this past year, right? Max Crosby was banging on the table. He's like, we went 5-4. Antonio Pierce came in, replaced Josh McDaniel, and we went 5-4. We looked good down the stretch. We have to hire him. They hire him, and Antonio Pierce, abysmal, right? He goes 3-13, 3-14, excuse me. 4-13, excuse me. I'm just mixing the numbers up. Little number dyslexia in the head. And he's just mixing it up and struggling, and they lose 10 games, NFL high. And all of a sudden, Max Crosby's like, I was wrong, right? So they fire Antonio Pierce. Max Crosby says, I'm not going to get involved in this next coaching search. But I think if there's anyone risky and bold enough to try, it's Jerry Jones. So Coach Prime to Dallas, I don't foresee it happening, if I had to be honest with you guys. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, why are you talking about it then? Guess what? If you're a weatherman, you talk about the weather regardless of good or bad. Same thing. I talk about Colorado football. This pertains to Colorado football. Whether it's good or bad, I have to talk about it, right? You don't just hear that your coach is probably the top candidate for one of the biggest jobs in the NFL and just be like, oh, well, let's talk about our new punter. He's from Australia. That's not how it works, right? So everyone relax. I don't think Coach Prime leaves for Dallas, right? I just think he has full autonomy in Colorado. He has an opportunity to continue his journey. And I think legacy is a big thing for him. And I think he has a better chance of establishing a legacy in Colorado than he does at the Dallas Cowboys. He already won a Super Bowl there. The average NFL coach is in and out the door, it feels like every 3 years, right? Does Deion Sanders last long enough in the NFL? I don't know. I think in college, he gets a very long leash, if you will, to sort of figure things out, right? Rick George is very much invested in him. And third and final, right? I just don't see it making sense. I think he is a motivator of young men. He inspires young men to be great. And the NFL level, those guys do not give a flying about being inspired. They are there to cash checks, pursue Super Bowls, and establish a legacy if they're good enough, right? This isn't like a hoorah, like go team kind of thing. It's like, hey, I'm providing for my family. Hey, I think I'm one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and I'm chasing my legacy, right? It is very much me. In college, it's more us. It is more we can do this. And it's like, okay, I don't know if the Coach Prime effect works in the NFL if they start losing and the team's like, you know what, we made a mistake. Because it's so easy to lose a locker room in the NFL. And I don't think Deion Sanders would lose a locker room that easily, but I think if anything, he'd probably keep it together for longer than the average thing. That being said, you could lose a locker room and you're done. And so I don't think Coach Prime would ever lose a college locker room. I think he would literally have to light the facility on fire, have it like put the fire out, light on fire again, kick the players off the team, bring them. Like he would have to do a lot of things to lose a locker room, and I just don't foresee that happening. So Coach Prime is currently viewed as a top option in Dallas. I don't think it'll happen, but we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. When we come back, a lot of people are talking about this moment between Julian Lewis and Kaidon Salter. What did you make of it? This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Game Time. And let me tell you about Game Time. Sorry for the delay there. Had a little snag with the old technology. Game Time is a perfect place to get your tickets. Attending the new 12-team college football playoff is an incredible experience that brings fans together like never before. I remember the excitement of past playoff games and can't wait to make new memories with the updated format and extra teams involved. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Recently, I used Game Time Picks to find tickets for an upcoming game. Browsing through the deals was a breeze, and I found great value for all kinds of seats around the venue. The Super Deal in particular stood out as the best value for the event. I love that I could see the seat views before buying, and that the app shows a total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, the on-time ticket delivery and lowest price guarantee gave me complete peace of mind. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. Got a fresh fade. My everydayers, if you're an everydayer, you would know I got a fresh fade. I'm trying something new with the hair. It's still in the beginning process. It'll take a couple more haircuts for you to actually notice it, but I'm trying something new. And it's okay to try some new things, especially with the new year coming up or the new year already happening. So I'm excited. You should be excited for me, I guess. You know, it's a fun little obstacle, if you will. But either way, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So thank you for making me your first listen. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, so that way you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage, because we got a lot of fun things to talk about. And one of the fun things to talk about is Mr. Kaidon Salter and Julian Lewis. So I think a lot of people are really looking into this, and I'm not shocked why, because obviously it's one of those things where it's like, oh, a little quarterback comp, right? A little quarterback competition. And I think a lot of people want to decide the competition right now. And I think we're going to have quite a few lessons to learn from this moment, but let's talk about it. So I'm going to share my screen so that way you can listen and watch what happened. This is from the Well Off Media video. And this is Kaidon Salter.
Kaidon Salter, Dallas, Texas. I'm here to be leader and lead this team to that Big 12 championship.
So very brief, very like, okay, cool. Like he wants to be a leader and he wants to lead the team to the Big 12 championship. Well, the video, someone screenshotted Julian Lewis's face, and his face, I'm going to do my best to imitate it. You could go ahead and look at the comment section on that post, the original post, and you'll see his face is like this. Like a little smirk, a little, And I think a lot of people want to read too much into it. And I'm here to tell you that this quarterback battle will not be settled in introductions. This quarterback battle will not be settled in winter workouts. It probably won't be settled in spring ball, right? Unless one of them absolutely dominates. That being said, I think a lot of people are trying to make this a Juju versus Kaidon Salter thing, and it's not that, right? Colorado has two talented quarterbacks that are battling to replace Shedeur Sanders, who is the best quarterback in college football. You want both guys thinking, I'm the best quarterback in the country. You want both guys going, I give this team the best chance of winning. You want both quarterbacks being like, I support that guy if it's not me right now. So I liked what Kaidon Salter had to say. When Taufik Bayard was on the show, had the hiccups right now. When Taufik Bayard was on the show a couple weeks ago, he was like, it's corny or whatever to be the guy that wants to be the leader when you haven't done anything. But he's like, I want to be a leader, and I plan on doing my best to be a leader. Kaidon Salter plays the most important position in football and on one of the most important teams in college football. And so I think for him, you kind of have to, when you're in a quarterback competition like this, because naturally everyone's going to be like, we want the 5-star, we want the highly touted recruit. Everyone's going to gravitate to a side before it even happens. Kaidon Salter is doing, which I mean, Julian Lewis is probably doing the same thing as well. This is just the video that I saw. Kaidon Salter is doing the important part now, which is he's trying to win the locker room, right? If you win the locker room, the coaches notice that. The coaches notice who the players play harder for, and the players will play harder for someone. That's just how it goes. I think it was SMU where Preston Stone led them to an American Athletic Conference title last year. Got injured, and I think it was the final game of the regular season. And they move on to Kevin Jennings, and then they have like a whole battle this offseason. Start off with Preston Stone, and then it's Kevin Jennings comes in, flip-flop, whatever. And then they end up sticking with Jennings down the stretch. Why? Because the team played harder for Jennings. So you need to win the locker room just as much as you need to win the coaches. Because if you win the locker room and they play harder for you, the coaches notice that. The coaches notice, oh, okay, when Kaidon's behind center or when Julian's behind center, the offense has a little more juice. The offense has a little more firepower. The offensive line is getting more of a push. The running backs are running harder. The receivers, they're not giving up on plays. And so I think a lot of people want this to be like a beef. And it doesn't need to be a beef because Colorado has a great quarterback situation right now. You have an experienced transfer who was the Conference USA MVP, has thrown for, I think, or has combined for nearly 80 career touchdowns, running and throwing. He does it all. Or you have a 5-star who could be one of the best quarterbacks in the country when his time comes. And if it's immediately, great. If it's not, if it's the next year, also great. I think people need to stop thinking of, oh, Julian Lewis is a 5-star. He didn't come here to sit. Guess what? I've gone over it countless times. Not every 5-star plays right away. And the ones that do, they're not always that good. And then they burn out and they crash out, right? Where it's like, oh, great. He fizzled it by week 4. And now we've lost him. And so I fully expect this quarterback battle to probably go into fall, right? This is, in a way, outside of Deion Sanders' first year at Jackson State's first season, this is his first time having a quarterback battle because that was the only year that Shedeur wasn't there. So as soon as Shedeur was there, whether there was a battle or not, we knew Shedeur was starting. Now, Coach Prime finds himself in unfamiliar territory of he is in charge, whether Pat Shermer is going to be the one that gets the final call, probably, but they have to make a decision on a quarterback. And this is Deion Sanders' first time hosting quarterback battle. So he's going to take everything into account and probably is going to let it go as long as he needs it to go before he makes a decision. And I don't know if he announces it before the game, the first game next year, which is against Georgia Tech, or if he lets it ride out and he's like, you know what, we're going to announce first play, whoever runs out there as a starter. Obviously, he would know, but the rest of us would not. And I've seen a lot of teams do that where they have a quarterback battle throughout spring and fall, and it's like, okay, who's the quarterback? And the coach is like, we won't know till this point. So I think Colorado's in a great position. Don't read too much into these comments because there's a lot of quarterback battle to go. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Colorado's new NIL structure, if you will. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by Wayfair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine. Whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. I'm currently looking for furniture. Obviously, I'm going to be house hunting. I'm getting married soon, so we're house hunting. We need furniture, and Wayfair's huge selection process makes it easy to find pieces that fit my style and my budget. My favorite part is the free and hassle-free delivery, even for the larger items. So, Wayfair's site was so easy to navigate, and I found everything that I needed in no time. So, give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Excuse me, still working through a cough here. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, so make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Thank you for making me your first listen of the day. I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention so that way everyone knows. I think it's important to know, especially for fans who want to donate to NIL collectives. Colorado has become the latest, and this is according to Front Office Sports, latest Power 4 university cut ties with its official name, image, and likeness collective as athletic departments nationwide prepare for the impact of the House v. NCAA settlement, which should be finalized later this year, and it's going to allow them to pay players directly. Colorado is changing its strategy in the NIL era less than 10 months after launching the 5430 Alliance. It says, and quote, "We are restructuring our NIL procedures in order to be prepared for the changes to come." This is Rick George. The House versus NCAA settlement will allow schools to pay athletes up to $22 million annually total across all sports programs. Through revenue sharing, athletes will still be able to make money from NIL deals, and schools could choose to keep working with the collective to help facilitate those funds, but players will be able to get paid by the school. And obviously, Colorado had a bit of a weird NIL situation. Their top NIL earners, Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, were getting a lot of deals because they were big stars, but they weren't getting money from the NIL collective. They were actually putting money into the NIL collective to help pay for the other people. So Colorado is forward thinking. They're thinking of the future, how they could best maximize a roster, how they best can get other top talents to come to Boulder. And I think it's really interesting direction. I think we've had a lot of problems with the NIL space. And realistically, I think this helps a little bit. So I think this is a good move for Colorado. Obviously, I still am interested to see how they handle the NIL situation and how these guys can get players to fund them or whatever, or to fund players and stuff like that. But Colorado's making moves on and off the field, and I'll keep you updated every step of the way about every move possible. So thank you guys for making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. I will see you guys tomorrow. Hope all of you have a great Tuesday. Again, thank you for making Locked On Buffs your first listen. Become an everydayer.